Hi, everybody. This is the last page of the POE testbed build instructions. And so I'm not here today or tomorrow. And so I wanted to kind of go through what I need you to do with the PC laptops. They do not have internet, so please don't try to do anything internet related or Google searches because it will not work. So please, you are responsible for that PC laptop, and it is only used to program our VEX robotics and our principles of engineering materials lab software. So on the last page, you'll notice it had a picture of like your Cortex, your processor, which would be like an Arduino that we've had before, and some other components that maybe I've given you, like a flashlight, or things that you haven't opened yet to find, like a motor controller. Okay? There might be a green LED in your tub full of hardware or parts, like where you had the screwdrivers and things like that. There's a bag that has green, yellow, and red LEDs. There's also batteries in there. You only need one. Please don't carry it by the cord. And you'll notice that up here, there's a big long list of all the pieces and where we want to plug things in. So again, I have a motor side where my first port is labeled 1. It's only got 2 pins, labeled flashlight. So I plug my flashlight into there. I cannot plug my motors in to ports 2 and 3 unless I have a motor controller interfacing between the Cortex, which has the 3 pins, and the motor, which has 2 pins. So I will need to plug in my motor controller into the Cortex, and then I'll need to plug in my servo down here on motor port 9. Again, they only go in one way. You cannot have the pins go in across, say, ports 4, 5, and 6. If it says 1, that's where the flat connector gets plugged in into that space. If I come over to the other side, so one side is all motor and motion, and the other side is all inputs. So I have analog inputs and I have digital inputs. An analog input can take a sensor, like a line follower, potentiometer, or light sensor, and it can take that and turn it into some variable that we will later use in the programming. Digital takes those inputs and more or less it tells you if something is off or on. So it's a 1 or a 0, more or less. Okay, so off, 0, 1, on. So that's more or less what we have for the analog and digital. Again, these are my parts. It says lower, it says upper. You'll notice that on where it says input or output. So the encoder has the label says VEX on the side, and you need to make sure that it's plugged in. The lower side of that case, the lower wire is in 3, and the upper one is in 4. And lastly, my green LED is down here in 12. And speaker, again, is not my ultrasonic sensor. Speaker is an accessory that we have only a couple of, and we don't really need to use too much. So make sure that your parts are plugged in to those 4, 6, 9, to those 14 ports on the Cortex. So just make sure those are all plugged in. And then you can plug your battery in as well. And again, leave your battery plugged in during the day and unplug it at the end of the day. If you don't unplug it, you can also just turn the switch off and make sure there's no lights in this area. All right, thanks for watching part 1 of our sensor and motor hookup.